Oh my God. Floyd Mayweather says that David Benavidez is being ducked by I Was Born Ready. Canelo Alvarez, we're going to talk about that in this video. Stay tuned. The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation.
Talk to me. Up and down, but it is what it is. I mean, if it was up to me, like we keep on saying, we want to see Benavidez. Canelo, hell of a fighter, but my personal opinion, he's ducking Benavidez. You know, that's just my personal opinion. And I'm allowed to speak my mind. That's just what it is. He's going up. He's going up to cruise, and I'm not knocking him, but he's going up to cruiserweight. And that same guy he used to be at the Mayweather boxing gym. The guys really get the best of him in the Mayweather boxing gym. So if he's going up to quote unquote cruiserweight, I mean we got a lot. Benavidez can go and beat that same guy. He can beat that same guy at 168. So he's not doing nothing, you know, like I said before. But when you are put in a certain position, he should be he's able to, like me. You know, when I was in the position, I can pick and choose who I want to.
Wow. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. It goes a long way when you guys do that. Appreciate everybody for rocking with me. It takes a couple seconds to throw a like on the video. You guys heard an excerpt from Floyd Mayweather, and he told you what I've been telling you. The great Ego Stradamus strikes again. He says that in his honest opinion, he believes that Benavidez, David Benavidez, of course, is being ducked by Canelo Alvarez. He's saying, basically, yeah, Canelo's going up to cruiserweight, and he's in a position where he can kind of pick his fights, but is that the guy that people want to see him fight? And we all know the answer to that. I know the Canelo fans, they're going to get mad at the video, but I'm here to profess the truth and what I see in the boxing game. And Floyd's right. You look at it, it's ironic too, because you have the Canelo fans who they really want to act as if what's being said is so outlandish, as if Canelo can do no wrong. But the reality is Canelo continues to find himself in a predicament where he fights a guy that I literally have not heard anyone requesting for him to fight. And then you have, in typical Canelo Chupapi Muñeño man fan fashion, Canelo fans then have to find a way to justify why this is occurring. Why is Canelo fighting this random guy that I've never heard of? And he's justifying it for saying like, hey, I'm moving up, daring to be great. But you're daring to be great and seeking danger in a new division, but the danger is right in front of you. You have a lot of dangerous guys stylistically in or around your division. So I know what I'm saying is true, whether people want to admit it or not. This is why greats like Nacho Beristain, famed trainer from the Ramonza gym, or his pupil, star pupil, that beat Manny Pacquiao, a legendary fighter who just retired, Juan Manuel Marquez, right? This is why they have given, and really Mexico as a whole, have not embraced Canelo. The world sees that Canelo, he a good fighter. He a good little fighter, right? The world sees that. They see that Canelo can like literally fight. Like he's a good fighter. He can fight. But it's these moves that are highly questioned and highly questionable, right? He's disciplined, stays in shape, All of those things are well and dandy. But when it comes to the decision-making process, we see Canelo, and I predicted this. That's why it's funny to see that there's any level of resistance, which to me is not truly resistance because you can't prove me wrong. You can dislike, but you can't disprove, as I always say. Canelo, you see how he's moving. I told you after David Benavidez knocked out Kyron Davis, late replacement to a guy who was juicing because he was afraid to fight David Benavidez, who's Jose Uzcategui. I told you that Canelo does not typically fight guys coming off of performances where they look sensational. This is not a matter of opinion, of ego's opinion. This can be substantiated and proven if you look at if and when. Like Danny Jacobs, before he fought Canelo, he fought Triple G and lost, right? He fought Luis Cuba Arias and he won the fight, but he was very gung-ho. And in the back half, there was some bad blood. So he was trying so hard to knock out Cuba Arias, he didn't tidy up his work. And then he fought Mad Selesky, which was, some people even thought that was a tough fight. And then he fought Sergey Derevyanchenko. And then I remember on HBO, some people even thought Danny Jacobs lost that fight. This is the point in which Canelo chose Danny Jacobs to unify. For example, Canelo, after the Golovkin fight, I personally thought that Danny Jacobs beat Golovkin by a close margin, even though there was vulnerability, got dropped in the fight. In fact, I was at the fight in New York. It was one of the craziest blizzards and inclement weather. They had like a crazy snowstorm at the time. And I thought Jacobs won. I thought he etched it. You know, Canelo could have fought him after that, but he didn't. You know, he fought Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. People, when Canelo first came out, they wanted to see Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. So the whole time Chavez Jr. is fighting Sergio Martinez and Andy Lee, Canelo was nowhere to be found in making that match. And then when Canelo, after he lost to Maravilla, Martinez, and later lost to Fonfara, and he had documented weight troubles, Canelo then fought him, and it was at a catchweight. So it's these opportunistic time frames in which Canelo is picking certain guys, and it's very apparent to see, right? Jacobs coming off of back-to-back undefeated fighters and tough fights, even arguably lost fights like Derevyanchenko in the public's mind and some people's mind. That's when Canelo fights him. Chavez Jr., storied issues making weight, fights him at a catchweight. So on and so. Sergey Kovalev, quick turnaround, coming off the heels of a performance where he was literally almost knocked out by an inexperienced Anthony Yarde. And he had already lost to Ward, Andre Ward, twice, won by knockout to prove who was the better fighter. He had lost to Eleider Alvarez by stoppage. Then he came back and avenged it by outboxing Eleider Alvarez. But if you look at Kovalev beating Eleider Alvarez beating him was more emphatic because he stopped him. This is when Canelo chooses these guys. So I knew in my heart of all hearts, and I told you, the videos are still up on the channel, Canelo would not fight David Benavidez based on how Benavidez looked. And it's so ironic that Canelo fans, they continue to say, oh, Benavidez is no threat. He can't win and stuff. But my thing is this, whether that's true or not, show me that he can't win against a guy like Canelo. Canelo fans want to continue to tell you who would win rather than seeing it. And it's funny because you could see the agenda. You could clearly see an agenda. David Benavidez is a formidable threat to anybody at 168, point blank, period. He has height, he has long arms, he has voluminous punching, combination punching, and he has a mean streak. That alone, those attributes alone make him a challenge for anybody at that division. Because if you can't physically hurt him, then the body shots, the left hooks, the uppercuts, the relentlessness, the fact that he's going to stay on top of you is going to make him a handful. And if Canelo could beat him, he could beat him. See, this is what the Canelo fans don't understand. It's not just about finding a person who can beat Canelo. It's about somebody who can push Canelo. If Canelo shows over time that he's fighting all these prime guys and he's just the last man standing, so be it. But this is still a competitive sport. And unfortunately, the way Canelo moves, you're not going to necessarily get to see that. That's why people are now speaking out. I've been doing it, so there's nothing new. And requesting these fights. Not only are these the best fights, like the Jermall Charlos Andrades, the David Benavidez, Beterbiev, and Bivol, where a ton of people are requesting them. These are also most of them. Not, I wouldn't say Bivol. I don't think I think that's a competitive, good fight, dangerous fight, but I don't think it's a blockbuster fight. Beterbiev, very dangerous fight, but I don't think it's a blockbuster fight. But a lot of the other names, mostly David Benavidez and Jermall Charlo, these are big blockbuster fights on top of competitive good fights. So it's really twofold. To fight David Benavidez, you're putting on an event. Two Spanish-speaking individuals. David Benavidez, you see he's half Ecuadorian, half Mexican, and he coming out and he's representing the Latino. So that would be a good buildup. David Benavidez speaks English, speaks Spanish. Canelo, I was born ready. He speaks English, he speaks Spanish. So you have a diverse buildup, if you will. And even the Canelo fans know that they would pay top dollar to see fights like this, but they refuse to see it. You know you don't want to see. If you want to see Canelo versus a random African you have never seen fight before, let me know in the comment section and let me know why. So just like Ego has been saying, and now Floyd Mayweather is saying, others like Timothy Bradley have said, Teddy Atlas said, I don't want to see Canelo versus no more of these guys. The whole world of boxing, Juan Manuel Marquez, Eric Morales, rest in peace to Eric Morales' son. Very terrible news that happened to the legend. You know, he lost his son recently. So I want to do a brief moment of silence. I just thought of this for Eric Morales' son. Amen. Make sure you guys send your love in regards to Eric Morales. But this is why random people throughout boxing have given Canelo these criticisms, because everyone can see it. David Benavidez, Charlo, these are all the biggest fights he could fight. Whether Canelo could beat him, I mean, he has to show us that in the fight. It's the reality of making the fight. These are bigger fights. That's why they're talking about Canelo possibly fighting Makbuk Air and all this stuff in Africa and Congo, where the guy's from, because you know these aren't marketable fights where Canelo has established his whole. Canelo he was not the fighter he was in Mexico, meaning he wasn't making the money he's making. He made his shekels, he made his dollar, his coin in America. So why disrespect the American audience and also the Mexican audience back at home in Mexico with these lackluster fights that no one's asking for? Meanwhile, you got a guy like Benavidez, Winky Wright, Tim Bradley, Boxing Ego, Teddy Atlas, fans all want to see and would pay for. And because Canelo's this A-side of characters, he feels like, oh, I don't have to give the fans what they want. So then you're not the people's champ. You can't have it both ways. You can't claim to be the people's champ, but then you don't do what the people want. We know what the best fights are. We know what we as consumers want to pay for, and that's that simple, period. Benavidez is one of the top fights, money-making fights. I really have very little interest seeing him move up to cruiserweight. Yeah, there's an inherent danger you're fighting a bigger guy, but you're fighting a bigger guy who's been stopped twice, looks like the weakest link because of politics and because of divisional changes like Usyk moving up to heavyweight. He later became a champion. Tony Bellew knocked this same Makbuk Air guy out, and Tony Bellew's a former light heavyweight. So it's not really that impressive. And Floyd just told you, I played it. He said this Makbuk Air was in the Mayweather gym and his guys was getting the best of him. So presumably Andrew Tabiti, and he got some heavyweights and, you know, different people in the division that probably sparred him. Point blank period. Shout out to Floyd, TBE. I'm TB Ego. Let me know how I did in this video. Canelo, step up, fight David Benavidez. These are the types of fights the fans want. And I'm out. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster.